Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cybersecurity. First things first. My name is Eric Taylor with Barricade Cyber Solutions, and I am honored and grateful to be co-host or guest hosting on today's episode while Gerald is out of town taking care of some personal matters. So while um, we are waiting everybody to come in, please say hello. Welcome to everybody. We'll wait for a few moments for everybody to come in. As always, drink some coffee. Hope everybody's doing okay. Brandon, yes, yes. He has subbed it out for today. He is out for personal matters, but never fear, he will be back at the helm tomorrow doing everything that he does in the most expert way that he does. While we're waiting for everybody to get in, this is kind of along the play lines. Has anybody in cybersecurity, we always talk about doing tabletop exercises, right? So, has anybody ever done tabletop? If you haven't, let me share a little resource with you. So, MITRE, unfortunately, this is quite old. It was put out there in 2014, but they did actually create a cyber exercise playbook. And I'll sit here and put this into the chat. It, this playbook really does go through, and it was gives you sort of ideas of how to talk to clients, how to do certain red team exercises, scenarios, interjections, things of that nature. Um, so it really is a good playbook. A lot of folks have asked about this before, and thought I'll kind of share this out. Would be a good resource for those who are looking to start doing tabletops with clients or your internal team. Like I said, they do have certain flows and exercises to go through. So it's a great resource. Hopefully, you guys can be able to use that resource on your next engagement with your internal team or your clients. As always, we are going to be going through CISOseries.com. Want to go ahead and load that up if you want to, or we're going to be playing along. Hopefully, the my audio will come through. I don't have quite the same setup as you. You'll see my iPad Pro is sitting over here. Um, so I will be playing it from there through the testing that we did. Everything seemed like it was working. It was coming through, but we'll see how it goes. So yell at me if y'all don't hear it, and we'll kind of fix that. See some people talking about the tabletop. Looking forward to checking that out. Someone. Oh, Alex. Yeah, sure. Hold on one second. Let me drop that into Discord as well. There we go. I just put it into the chat and chill general. Hopefully that'd be the right resource for or the right room for everybody. All right. Well, looks like we have quite a few number of people, so we are going to go ahead and get started, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for joining, and let's have a good time.
In the CISO series, it's Cybersecurity Headlines.
It's Monday, March 21st, 2022. CISA and the FBI tell satellite communications network owners to watch out for hacks after Ukraine attack. The alert is part of CISA's Shields Up initiative to respond to potential Russian cyber attacks spilling over from the Ukraine conflict. It requests that all organizations significantly lower their threshold for reporting and sharing indications of malicious cyber activity. The digital sabotage of Viasat's KA-SAT satellite hours before the Russian invasion led to a, quote, huge loss in communications in the very beginning of the war, end quote. As a consequence, lawmakers in the US are pressing the Department of Homeland Security to name space as another critical infrastructure sector like healthcare or energy.
Oh, this is going to trigger me so many different ways. Anybody who ever listens to my episodes, I get quite triggered a lot. So yeah, I want to take the first things first. So if they are going to rule that space was a what do they actually call it one more time? Another critical infrastructure. So does that mean like companies like Elon Musk with SpaceX or not SpaceX, but the um, the satellite infrastructure that they put together would now be control? I don't know about all that. I don't think the government really has any business to dictate private sector things. But satellites have been under attack for a long time. Anybody who's been in the cybersecurity world a while always knows that the DoD, especially for the U.S., has always regarded their satellite infrastructure with very high regard. They do spend a lot more resources and time and material to that, even though there isn't a whole lot of threat to it per se. But I would imagine because Elon Musk did send his satellites over to Ukraine that they will now get more scrutiny. And Elon Musk pretty much told Putin, "Bring it on." He doesn't care. Again, try not to be too political here, which I can get pretty political. So we'll try to we'll try to keep it PG-13, if we will, the whole Disney room. But yeah, this thing could definitely get real interesting to see how this thing plays out. So I do think you know the government needs to be involved in at least in some sort of Overwatch, but the total control of it, I just don't think so. So I mean, anyway, before I go on a tangent and we don't get very far. Here we go.
Hackers claim to breach TransUnion South Africa with password. TransUnion South Africa has disclosed that hackers breached one of their servers demanding a ransom payment in order to not release the stolen data. A Brazilian hacking group known as Naughty Sec TU with a number 4 for the letter A in naughty has claimed responsibility for the attack and told Bleeping Computer that they downloaded 4 terabytes of data during the attack. The Naughty Sec TU threat also said they did not steal any user credentials, but performed a brute force attack on the SFTP server. The account they ultimately breached was allegedly using the password, so it was quick and straightforward to brute force. TransUnion has noted it will not pay the ransom.
Oh, oh gosh, here we go. So, all right, forgive me if I'm talking down to anybody. I really don't mean to. But FTP, file transfer protocol, secure communication between endpoint devices. That's not browser based. It's got its own protocol. You use things like FileZilla, things of that nature to actually transfer. SFTP is supposed to be a secured version, which end-to-end encryption for the for the FTP protocol. Sorry, getting distracted by the comments. I see why Gerald doesn't watch the comments very much. But yes, I can get very spicy. But all right, so this one. Any pen testers out here? I'm just curious. Anybody on the red team or anything like that? So anybody who does pen testing and red teaming, things of that nature, knows that password is one of the most common things. Like, okay, we're going to get sidetracked, and sorry, I'm riddled with ADHD, so forgive me while we sidetrack just a little bit. But if you seriously just go to GitHub, 10,000K passwords, there's literally all these common credentials right here labeled, right? And I'll zoom this in. Look, no prep. Number 1, password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, baseball, football. Come on. I mean, you have TransUnion who oh, oh man, this is crazy. I don't know what they were thinking about this one. There is that old saying, no honor among thieves, right? And this kind of applies a little bit where they said that, they didn't steal any data. If I was a bad guy and I just popped TransUnion, do you think for not 1 second that I would not be pulling data? down. I really hope they have some really good logs and find out, if they actually did obfuscate and exfil any of that data. What a train wreck this is. Um. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What in the world happened? I am so sorry about that, folks. Apparently, I forgot to turn back on my screen. My apologies. So those who didn't see, bear with me. Sorry. So if I just literally just go in here to GitHub, 10K passwords. First link that's right here. I'll zoom it in. Look at that. First time I'm co-hosting and I'm botching the entire thing up. But look, number one, password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll even put this in here in the comments. Yeah, it's password is right there at the top of the list. So for them to have actually put in or used the password of password, crazy. Thanks again for chat for bringing this out that I will not sharing my screen. My apologies on that.
Developer sabotages own NPM module, prompting open source supply chain security questions. The developer of a popular JavaScript component hosted on the NPM repository decided to protest Russia's invasion of Ukraine by adding code to own components that would add or delete files on people's computers in a way they didn't expect. The component, called Node-IPC, is a dependency for a variety of other projects. Some people have started referring to such acts of self-sabotage by developers as protestware. Experts believe that while developers certainly have the right to modify their own software, such acts risk damaging trust in the open source ecosystem, which has faced increased supply chain security challenges in recent years.
Okay. This is so interesting. So we've seen this before. So when you're developing your product, you're developing your application, a lot of folks will use, get open source GitHub repositories, right? That's not an uncommon thing for folks to do. A lot of companies will not go through and sanitize and look and go through and see what's actually in the code. Is like, oh well, this does certain module, so I'm just going to put it in and I'll give credit or whatever. But most people are not going through and digging through the code and actually seeing what's actually in there. And we've seen time and time again where folks are putting in their own code, just like in this case, but they're doing data exfiltration, or there was recently a RMM tool that would actually deploy a crypto miner, and I think it was for the Monero coin, which is uses your CPU versus GPU. So as you were idle, it would sit there and do its mining, and the developer would be getting all those resources from everybody who deployed that thing. It's crazy. Please, folks, if you're not going through and looking through the code that you're ingesting from GitHub or any of the other open repository systems, please stop and go do that this week. Can you start today, please? Please. We see this all the time. All the time. Unfortunately, it's very, very sad.
Cloud-based email threats surged 50% in 2021, and AWS has some splaining to do. These numbers correspond with a drop in ransomware and business email compromise detections as attacks become more targeted, according to Trend Micro in a recent report. The number of phishing attempts almost doubled during this period as threat actors continue to target home workers. Of these, 38% were focused on stealing credentials. The report also mentions that misconfigured cloud systems were also a critical risk factor in 2021, with AWS Key Management Service and Amazon Elastic Container Service having some of the highest misconfiguration rates.
Well, This is like pen tester, red teaming, bug bounty day. So this is kind of crazy where people are, look, there's something, I'm going to drop all the screen and I'll remember to bring it up, but I just want to bring it up very, very clear. Just because you go to the cloud does not mean you are secure. Let me repeat it. Just because you go to the cloud does not mean you are secure. Please stop thinking if I go to cloud, I'll be secure. No. You got to put in your proper due diligence. You got to go through frameworks and you got to do a lot of settings and a lot of things you got to set up to make that cloud infrastructure secure. You know, some like AWS, to make a container public, you actually got to go through a couple steps now because S3 buckets and everything have been a subject of bruising and data leakage. So they try to, kudos to them, make it harder for those to put things up into a public forum so you don't see it quite as much. So the fact that there's actually S3 buckets that are open to the public, you literally had to go through a couple steps just to make that happen. So, but if when you're talking to your cloud vendors, you're talking to Microsoft, you're talking to, anybody, find out what extra security measures you got to do when you're starting to implement these things. It's not an unreasonable question. Again, to assume security because you're going to cloud is a fallacy. Please don't do it, folks. Please, please, please.
And now, NIS.com/CISO series. Avos Locker ransomware gang targets U.S. critical infrastructure. The FBI has published a joint cybersecurity advisory in conjunction with the U.S. Treasury Department and the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, warning of Avos Locker ransomware attacks targeting multiple U.S. critical infrastructure. The Avos Locker ransomware as a service emerged in the threat landscape in September 2021, and since January has expanded its targets by implementing the support for Linux systems, specifically VMware ESXi servers. Avos Locker claims to directly handle ransom negotiations as well as the publishing and hosting of exfiltrated victim data after their affiliates infect targets.
All right. Those who don't know me, this is the world that I live in. Incident response, ransomware, things of these natures, right? So this is literally Avos Locker's website. This is their quote unquote name and shame site. They literally post everything out there. You can go and view anything you want to. There's one thing people got to understand, that when you look at a global economy, the US is very, very ahead of the curve. We are very, very profitable. We have a lot more money typically than most other countries in the world. I think everybody can agree with that without getting, again, geopolitical. But if you are, wanting to look for the quote unquote easy score, what countries are going to go after? US is going to be on the top of that list, folks. So the fact that Avos Locker is attacking US critical infrastructure, why do you think that is? One, because America has more resources, it has more money. Typically, insurance companies are getting to a point where it's making it easy to pay out to some degree, especially in 2019, 2020. A lot of insurance companies would say, oh, you got hit with ransomware, you had coverage, your coverage will pay 500,000, 200,000, whatever that number is. So the company wasn't really out anything. Things are changing this year with insurance companies starting to require, are you putting in proper procedures or in policies? Do you have documentations? Are you actually testing your backups? Are you implementing things like MFA, not just 2FA, but actual MFA? Are you conforming to any sort of framework, NIST 800-171 or the SANS Top 20, or it's not actually the Top 18 now. So there's a lot of things depending on your insurance broker about what you're actually doing. So for them to say that they're targeting U.S. critical infrastructure, can we say duh? Sorry.
Phishing Toolkit lets anyone create fake Chrome browser login windows. A phishing kit has been released that allows red teamers and wannabe cyber criminals to create effective single sign-on phishing login forms using fake Chrome browser windows, known as a browser-in-the-browser attack. Security researcher Mr. Docs said that these templates are easy to use in creating convincing Chrome windows to display single sign-on login forms for any online platform. Mr. Docs, who released the templates for Google Chrome for Windows and Mac on GitHub, said that red teamers could simply download the templates and edit them to contain the desired URL and Windows title, and then use an iframe to display the login form. Kuba Gretzky, creator of the Evil Ginks Phishing Toolkit, tested the new method and showed how it worked perfectly with the Evil Ginks platform, meaning it could be adapted to steal 2FA keys during phishing attacks.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So this has been something that's been around for a while. Now, this one is definitely looks like a lot more sophisticated than some of the stuff that I've gone through. Shout out to Black Hills Information Security. When I first started out in InfoSec, I went through a lot of their stuff, and there's a gentleman over there by Bo, that goes by the name of Bo. He does a class called Breach in the Cloud. And one of the days that we go through, we actually talk about this, where we can actually stand up a man-in-the-middle attack that works really, really well. So it will actually capture MFA tokens that will last for a little bit. So if you're actively watching your logs, you can actually see the real username and password come in. You can capture that MFA token in the middle, and as long as you're quick about it, typically within under 2 or 3 minutes, you can log in as well, because it's all under a time-based rotation. So it is great. So if you're ever wanting to get into some of that, you definitely go out over there and check out Black Hills Information Security. Like I said, Bogart, I think his last name is. But anyway, just look for Breach in the Cloud. It's a really, really awesome class. Well worth the investment if you're into that space.
Dark Hotel APT targets Wynn and Macau hotels to steal guest data. This group has been targeting luxury hotels in Macau with a spear phishing campaign aimed at breaching their networks and stealing the sensitive data of high-profile guests staying at those resorts. A threat research report from Trellix cautiously identifies the South Korean Dark Hotel APT group as the culprit behind the attacks. The researchers said that the spear phishing campaign began at the tail end of November, with emails loaded with malicious Excel macros being sent to hotel management with access to hotel networks, including human resources and office managers. Anonymous.
This is crazy. So at one point, here we go, we're gonna get a little spicy, right? So I almost wish I had that little button be like spicy, but at what point are IT administrators going to stop allowing micros to be enabled in your network? It never, ever delivers any benefit, ever, unless you're in accounting and you're doing a ton of stuff, that, with spreadsheets and stuff like that. Maybe you can do some special exclusions for that, but your general population inside of your environment do not need to have macros enabled. It's never going to end well. How many times I just don't know why. Like, I want to get a noodle and start beating people with, who enable this stuff. I don't know. But anyway, I do see BSEC said Office disables macros by default. I do know BSEC there that Microsoft was going to be enabling that as a feature. I don't know if that actually got released, if that's only maybe somebody could advise that today, but I don't know if that's a Microsoft 365 thing or if it's applies to home users or anything like that. So, like I said, I do know that they were working on it. I have not seen an update on that particular thing, but I do know they were talking about it for a while. And those who are coming in, sorry to sidetrack. Yes, hey, my name is Eric. I'm with Barricade Cyber Solutions. I am subbing in today while the host is away. So trying to hold down the reins and do this thing and give it from my analysis. Thank you for everybody for joining. I really appreciate it.
Anonymous leaks data stolen from Russian pipeline company Transneft. The Anonymous Collective claims it has hacked Omega Company, which is the in-house R&D unit Transneft, the Russia-based state-controlled oil pipeline company and the largest pipeline company in the world. The hacktivists claim to have stolen 79 gigabytes of emails and published them on the leak site of the nonprofit whistleblower organization Distributed Denial of Secrets. The stolen data includes invoices, equipment, technical configurations, and product shipment information. The Omega Company produces high-tech acoustic and temperature monitoring systems for oil pipelines. It may be Monday, but we've already got another soup.
All right, so I thought that was again, but just want to double check. So yeah, another pipeline, another day, maybe couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch of people, maybe. So this has really come out and surprised me. When they first came onto the scene, what was it, the early 2000s, I believe, or late early 2000s, they were known for these things, right? They were known for breaching businesses and doing everything that they're doing. And now I thought for a while there that they had just become a political mouthpiece where on YouTube, they just, like, we see you and we don't like what you're doing and things of that nature, right? So really seeing Anonymous stepping up and flexing their muscle has been interesting from a cybersecurity standpoint. Those who, like I said myself, that live in the DFIR, digital forensic incident response space, seeing them actually be active and being able to collect TTPs of what they're doing, it is really, really interesting. Normally, I don't agree with what Anonymous is doing, but this whole Russian thing, could happen to a better bunch of folks, I think. They do have a problem trying to export their gas and fuel, their crude oil, I should say, before it gets refined into gas and things of that nature. I think the only ones that are buying it in right now are India, but again, maybe getting a little bit too geopolitical there. But good for them. My personal opinion, not the comments or the opinions of Simply Cyber, but my own personal. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining. I do greatly, graciously appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this content, please, do the whole subscribe, like, thumbs up, all that stuff. Share it with those who will benefit from this, not only just today, but all videos. If you're out there and you think, what Gerald is doing and putting out first things first will benefit somebody, please share that with somebody. I want people to be more educated. I want people to be more informed. So that's why I was happy to try to step up and do this thing. I didn't want one day to go by, right? So again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. I do see a bunch of people still here. So thanks for sticking all the way through this one. Normal show will start again tomorrow. And until then, take care, everybody.
There once was a kid whose passwords laid across all sites. They were the same, a criminal, then found their fame by taking that data to go.
Soon may a criminal come to steal your pictures and data and run. One day when the crime is done, they'll steal your account and go.